Actually, the way I met Gardy was actually through Doug and it's Melissa, I think. I met them at a few trade shows. And this is one of those kind of examples of like, if you just stick around long enough, you'll have it, and you'll eventually do business with them. But he came up to me, and as Gardy knows, they had a really successful pizza business in the Boston area, and they were like, "We love your concept. We're just waiting, trying to find the right project for it." And then, lo and behold, the craft food hall project or the craft food hall project, came to fruition, and obviously Gardy's, he's a huge part of that project, the success of it, the execution, the implementation, everything from the ground up. But I actually would love to get more information on how you guys all connected, because it just seems like it's been such a great partnership with them. And I'm sure Gardy will say when you meet them, they're just so genuinely, I guess, they're just so genuine. They're just really good people, and you can tell that they take a lot of pride in the fact of the quality of their products, the quality of their food, and obviously the quality of their team members. But yeah, I mean that was my introduction to Gardy was through them and seeing that vision become a reality. And it's weird thinking that it was like probably 6 years ago when I originally met them. And here we are. They've got 2 locations up, and they're killing it. So. I'll pass the baton to Gardy, but yeah, it's been awesome working with you guys.
Thank you very much, man. I mean, that was an extraordinary introduction and right on money. I mean, look, Doug and Melissa, they glow wherever they walk. It's amazing. They are super humble and they know when they meet good people and good products. And so, real quick, it was really kind of weird. We have a mutual friend. I opened up a night shift brewing, his Boston location, and after that's where we met. We had a mutual friend there, and we met and talked about really how love and happiness flow through our industry and how that should be the foundation of our industry. And then I was like, I'm hooked. All right, how do we do this? How do we work together? And they offered me a partnership to be able to grow. That's what I'm good at, is implementing systems, organizations, and just replicating. I learned a lot of that from the Cheesecake Factory. That is my foundation, and they taught me a lot about creating systems and developing systems. And then when we talked about how Craft Food Hall Project was really going to be born today, called Craft Food Halls, that was kind of the strategy to really, quite frankly, dominate the world with this food hall concept. We had a lot of levers being pulled. All that means is we wanted to offer many different things to capture escapism, right? And so we wanted games, we wanted shuffleboard, we wanted ping pong, we wanted things that made people interact with each other and not so much with the TV or their phones. And Pour My Beer was the most epic thing you could run into to help do that, right? Because now you have somebody who's not waiting for a bartender anymore, right? They're able to come up and really cut that wait time right up to the wall and pour and sample and not commit to 16 ounces. All of a sudden they're doing a half ounce of this or an ounce of that and trying the world. Noah over here with 100 taps, let's go. It's impressive to be able to do that. And so that really anchored our philosophy. Let's do something that helps people be more interactive with not only each other, but also, the technology that's available in the space.
Do you mind also sharing a little secret on how you secured your, now both locations where you have the Pour My Beer technology in it? How did you go about finding the right place?
Well, we don't really, when you say place, we know the old adage of location, location, location. We're a little bit different. We prefer to be the destination location. And that kind of got born out of the amenity world. We love partnering with different contractors and different property managers to kind of be their partner in whatever it is that they're doing. So where you would normally find a regular cafeteria setting, we jump in and we build out a retail location available to the public. And it acts as an amenity to the property management and a retail location as well. So we look for those partnerships before we look for the location, because our locations are in industrial locations, and we're building our next one right now in Marlborough, right off the beaten path. So you're going to have to go look for us and find us, and come to us. And that's why Pour My Beer is so integral, is because it's another USP for us, to say that we have that, and we were the first ones in this area to have that, and people look for that.
Would you mind taking us a little, just a little tour around so we can see the space since you have the camera on?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's really cool, I have a partner, and his name is Nick, and we're really into the beer world, and that's where I met Doug and Melissa as well. Is when I opened Night Shift Brewing, which is a local brewery here. It was our passion for beer that really helped us again anchor in Pour My Beer in our concept. So what we do, the way that we set up our wall is we have what we call the lawnmower beers at the beginning of the wall. The ones that you would normally drink if you're mowing the lawn. So you have Bud Light kind of situation happening. We have a fest beer, and then tenant, those are, a couple of things that are lighter on the EBV side, and you can kind of have a good time. And then we get into a little bit heavier. We have, Bohemian Pilsner, Fun Trap, Allagash, New Belgium, and then we go into heavier things, jumping into, our double IPAs as well. We have our Pulp Daddy. It's extraordinary. And then people start understanding, okay, we have some quality things on the wall. Full Finback Rolling in the Clouds is my favorite, 7.1 ABV, and just killing the game. And then we have some of our local hitters as well. Zero Gravity is not far from here, in Massachusetts, and it's an 8.0, and people love that. That's been killing it recently. And then we go a little bit lighter. So we jump into our hard seltzers, kombucha, our sour, Berliner Weiss, and then we have our rosé. So we have 30 taps here, and then we get into the wine, and then reds and wines, reds and whites, as well as sometimes we'll throw on a prosecco on there as well.
How are your wines comparing to beers when it comes to sales? Are beers the main?
Yes, so the beers are the main attraction, but if we switch off of a wine, we hear it really quickly. But in terms of really quickly, in terms of sales percentage, it's really 90-10.
Okay, 90-10. That's good to hear. How do you go about your offering of the different products? I see that you don't just offer local craft beers. You definitely offer a little bit of everything. How do you go about deciding that? Do you test the market in some ways?
No, so, just like a kitchen, right? You either are going to cook for yourself or you're going to cook for other people. If you're cooking for yourself, you're telling the world, this is the food that I enjoy, this is what I like, and I hope you like it too. The other way is you cook for other people and ask them, what do you like? And then you present them whatever the market at that moment is looking for. We do the first version. We taste, we put it up there, and hopefully you like it, bro. For us, it's really important that the partnership is solid. So though, we're not going to hurt our business and not put something up there, because, we don't like it, but 99% of there, we have a great relationship with either the vendor or the actual distribution themselves, and we love the product.
Okay, I got a question from My Beer family that he specifically asked me to ask on the second or this next Fireside Chat. How do you go about pricing? How do you really set up prices for your beverages and know what you should mark up?
Yeah, so there was a lot of relationship building in that as well. So we want to make sure we're fair to the guest, but it's a premium. It's a luxury to be able to pour your own. It's a luxury to be able to sit up there and just have an ounce of beer. So we price accordingly. We have an Excel spreadsheet, essentially a formula built that kind of calculates that for us. We want to make sure that we have our proper margins in house.
Okay. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more detail on the percentage that you put up on some of the beers? A couple of examples, maybe, if you don't mind.
I don't mind too much. On some of them, again, like I said, it's because I work very, very closely, and Nick does an extraordinary good job working closely with the particular vendors. But it's, at the end of the day, we're looking at 17% is what we're looking for. I think it's a fair assessment there. And then sometimes we do better. Sometimes it falls towards the 11% on cost. It depends on again who we're dealing with.
Absolutely. Lately, from a lot of Pour My Beer family members, we've been hearing about increasing trend of cocktails on tap, and those just driving a really high sales. Have you ever tried
Mhm.
that, or it's just not something you think would work with your community?
Oh, it works. It works extraordinarily with our community. Again, we're very focused on certain things, dynamics in our particular model, that we just haven't gotten to that yet. So in my past life, I've done, for example, an espresso martini. When I launched espresso martini on tap, for a restaurant concept in Boston, we sold 700 units, 700 units in the first night. So it is something that we want to do. We just, again, we haven't gotten around to doing it. We're building, 4 other locations right now, and so that's taking up a lot of our time.
Definitely. Espresso martini is my personal favorite too. So once when you guys put it up in your future locations, I will be there. That sounds great. So this was kind of like a good wrap up of the beverage wall offering and the setup, since you also got to show us around. Is this the same way how you have it in your second location, or did you do something different because you figured like, okay, maybe we should do this, in a different way because it makes more sense?
No, this exact model is exactly what it is. The way that we did it here, it works so well, and I think it works so well because where we have it as a focal point in our restaurant, right when you walk in, you see it, but you're also able to understand the path of travel. And that's important for, unfortunately, the reality we're living right now with COVID. People need to understand what's the flow and, how do I touch as little as possible. And, and so we did it exactly the same way. If you start at the beginning of my food hall, you can tell left you enter, right you exit, and that flow has been maintained in my Lexington concept as well.
Was there anything else that you were changing for the second location that you learned the hard way that needs to be different?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess the amount of team members. So the way that we set up our flow here, we had what we called a beer attendant, somebody that was manning the wall 100% of the time. And if guests were not pouring accordingly, then we would use our service card and help them a little bit. We had somebody there full time. And when we found out in our second concept, we didn't really need that. What you needed is a greeter, essentially, someone to tell you real quick, this is how it goes, and just go for it and have fun. So we were able to actually save labor with that model, not having a beer attendant there the entire time.
That's an interesting feedback. We definitely have a lot of customers that will have the self-pour first timers, and they have the need to really have the ambassador there the full time, just because there are some people that are maybe technologically challenged here and there and just need that little extra push. But that's great to hear that your second location doesn't really need it. Do you think it's because you guys are getting a lot of people that already are familiar with the self-pour tech?
Unfortunately, no. I think it's mainly because my management team does a phenomenal job right at the door and just saying, "Hey, how are you? This is our world," and it's explained right there really quickly. Whereas in Waltham, people were walking into the space with no greeter, and so they were kind of feeling around, and then they end up at the beer wall, in which that was their first interaction. So it's just slightly different labor model, and it worked. It worked very well because I didn't have to. I was able to eliminate an hourly personnel.
And Gardy, real quick, do you track some of those metrics as far as like your percentage of labor cost on your total revenue?
100%, yes.
So, as you know, the industry kind of averages somewhere in like the 25 to 30% range. Would you say you're below that average?
Yes. Yes. So, yeah,
You
so
don't
we
want to
are
share
below
too
that.
much.
So, our model is also very, very different in terms of how people enjoy themselves. Um, we were very blessed to start with online ordering very, very early, and I, I come from a world where servers and bussers and bartenders and just a heavy, heavy, heavy load, but instead of having all of that, we decided to invest more in our management team. They took out a little bit more cross role between management and team member. So having them on that salary payroll, and making sure that they're compensated well enough and they love being here, uh, cut out that whole hourly side of things.
Nice. That's sorry, didn't mean to jump in there, but I was curious. So
No, it's
No, it's a
so
phenomenal
great.
question because that's what everybody needs right this second. I'm not pulling the same sales I was pulling before COVID, and we have to find out in interesting ways to make this work, right? And so everybody's implementing, QR codes and this and that, and it's important for people to know. Look, have your online ordering, have your management team in place and ready to play, man. Let's rock and roll.
We'll talk more about the post-COVID strategy later towards the end of the call too. But since Josh started his favorite topic, which is key performance indicator, he loves measuring and just defining your success. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Gardy? What are other things that you are tracking on a weekly, maybe daily, monthly basis?
Like I mentioned earlier, I come from Cheesecake Factory, so we tracked everything. Sales per labor hour, guests per labor hour. We do that. We do that innately. And so for me, for this to ever work, every team member, hourly or salary, has to know their financials. They need to understand that this is what we're doing. We're making money. Yes, we're in the hospitality and taking care of guests, but we're making money is what we're doing. And so how does that correlate with the hospitality industry, really? How do they understand hospitality and service? We teach them hospitality versus service. That's the first thing. And then we teach them how financials ties into hospitality and service. And then once you understand that every little thing that you do impacts the bottom line, then you're doing well, right? So in terms of key performance indicators, in terms of tracking so we go a little bit deeper. We track your quick ratio. We teach them the P&L through and through, not just COGS and so on and so forth. So to answer your question, everything is tracked. Everything.
Okay.
So on that real quick, do you have certain metrics that you celebrate at the end of a week, or end of a shift or a day? Because just to give you an example, like one of our customers, our family members, not customers, one of our family members, they said that they celebrate when they add 50 new people to their rewards program, and they make a big deal out of it, and that creates this culture of creating this rewards program that's now super healthy, and actually attributes to about like 70% of their revenue. So I didn't know if you had some things like that you celebrate with your team as well that might be good for other businesses to implement.
So guest count is something that we're able to celebrate, and that's important to us because we have so many levers to pull. So you're not exactly sure. Are you happy about 50 guests on your beer wall, or you're happy about 100 guests? But that same 100 guests, if they're not buying food, what does that mean for our bottom line? And understanding how that intertwines. And so that's the biggest thing is guest count for us. Because we're very, very new. We need to understand who's coming and why they're coming. And then the other metric is because it's so cool with being able to track who's coming in and how many times they've come in. Repeat guests. Let's see why they're coming back, and are they really going to order the same thing? Do you know their names? Do they have the same turkey sandwich on rye and then grab 17 Bud Lights? You know what I mean?
17 would be a lot.
Yeah, they do it. They do it. So those are the two big metrics for us. And then obviously we look at top line sales and what that looks like, and are we able to beat week over week? So catering is a funny thing right now because it's not being done the exact same way. We've developed a catering program that is very particular and is catered to each particular company. And so that's another metric for us, growing our catering business, because every time we are able to grow our catering business, so these people, we deliver to them or we bring to them, we go to them, they end up on our website. And again, this is another, we celebrate impressions. They end up on our website, they see their beer wall, and then they come back. And then they want to interact with their beer wall. You know, it's a cool circle to see.
Can you share just a little bit more insight with the rest of the For My Beer family? How do you go about handling the catering right now during the COVID times? Since you mentioned that you
handling the catering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's individual. So it's really like a to-go order, except we have our guest names on the boxes. We make sure that we understand what each individual person would want to eat. So it's a little bit more tedious because you're not doing it family style, right? You're not doing a garden salad for 24 people. You're doing 24 individual garden salads, And so the breakdown's a little bit different, but it gives the guest the comfort that they need at that moment.
Okay.
So it's sealed packaging. We put the stickers on them, and we put their names on them, and then they're able to be hand delivered that way.
Okay.
So even in our space, we have no flatware or hard silverware or plates or anything like that. Everything, even in house, is to go.
I did want to transition a little bit to the marketing, since we mentioned that you're tracking the repeat guest. How are you making sure that you have those repeat guests? Like, how are you attracting them in? Is there any loyalty club, any special promotions?
So we haven't even rolled out our loyalty program yet, which is interesting, because that's usually one of the first things people want to do, but we haven't really needed to do. People come in and they celebrate us. They feel the love. So whenever we bring in a new team member, it's a different vetting process. It's not like they walk in, fill out an application. I ask them things like, when are they most immature? I need to understand the being and understand if they're comfortable speaking with each other, if they're comfortable speaking to me, and understanding how genuine they are as an individual. It's hard to lie when you're getting, curveball questions like that. And we've been very successful with the love that's being emanating by every team member that we have. And so they come back for them. Daniel's a general manager for this location. And man, the way he shakes those tins when he makes those cocktails, and the way people, gravitate to him, and he talks passionately not only about our food but about the selections on our wall. He's just a beaming ray of sunshine, and people come in and ask, where is Daniel? Where is Allison, and how are they doing? And that's how we've been capturing the repeat guests.
So one of your marketing tip would be hire for personality then, right? To sum it up, like you just hire for the personality.
Yeah. So personality is a cool thing, right? But for me, it's a character and habit. Because your personality, I think I know your personality by now, right? Because we've been talking for a little bit, but I don't know your character. I don't know your habits yet. Have a better conversation about our wants, our dislikes. So for example, with my wife, every morning, I wake up and I apologize for whatever it is I'm about to do, or I did, right? Because we have to reset, right? And that's my habit. We have to reset. This is something that I do. This is something that we've instilled, and we do that with each other in here too. You sent an email and the language might have been a little bit crooked. Let's talk about it real quick. You forgot to greet the team members as they walked in. Let's talk about that right quick, because those are the habits that we're going to make sure are ingrained in you. If we talk about that during the interview process, and you give me the indication that those things don't matter to you, then what are we doing? Your personality could be great. We can talk about basketball all day, but your character and your habit don't jive, then you're not gonna you're not gonna be able to work out here.
Very true. Since we kind of shifted to staff, and got away from marketing, can you tell me a little bit about how do tips work, and how do you go about hiring new staff?
Okay, so this is a sore subject, the tips section, but because we have a direct integration with DoorDash, I'm a delivery partner. We must have tips activated. But prior to having that, we were a tipless organization. There were no tips. Everyone was paid very, very well um, to maintain that culture. Maintain, hey, we're not here for the tips. We're here to take care of you. And you know what? Save your tip because you're pouring your own beer. Let's have a party. Order another beer. Pour your own, pour your own again. But just save your tip and come out and enjoy this environment. But since then, we had to add a tip line, and people have been tipping, and so we're running it back to the team members currently, and that model has to change a little bit for us. But we are, our party line is we are a tipless organization.
Okay, that makes sense. To be honest, and Josh knows about this too, we hear this from a lot of our customers that they're rather switching to pay more hourly wages and stay away from the tipping. So that's definitely something that I think is becoming a new big trend. Another question on the staff note: are you using a script or some sort of video to show them how they should be explaining the self-pour technology to new customers and newcomers, or do you just let their personality and character work the magic?
Yes, the character and the personality and the habit works the magic. Everybody speaks a little bit differently, everybody, as long as the same information is provided, man, you got to put the card in the right way. You have to hear the click. You got to pour at an angle, man. Otherwise, if it's foamy, you're paying for it. And no, everybody has their own kind of style, but the message always gets across, and we have zero problems or complaints.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Josh, did you want to ask any other question on the staff note? Because I want to transition back to marketing if I get the chance.
No, I guess it as far as retention, as you know, it's typically somewhat of a high turnover industry, but do you, over the course of the lifetime of the first location, how many people have you had to hire, and what's the total amount of staff that's typically required to run the location?
Oh, so this location is, well, we have 12 combined team members in management, and so it's very, very simple. It's so the way that we run our kitchen. We have a sous vide kitchen, so there's not much cooking happening. It's a lot more prep. We do a lot of finishing, and so there's not a lot of labor that's needed on my line that way. And so
Nice.
People max, 4 people on a busy time because we have aces working on the line.
Right.
And then you only need really 1 or 2 managers on the floor, and then you rotate them out because they need days off.
Nice. No, it's a lean team. I like it.
Thanks, sir.
Gardy, so on a busy night, it's going to be 12 people. Is that correct?
No, that's total, love. That's total staff members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, man, no. On a single night, I can rock this place with 5 people and kill it.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
No.
What's your
Thank you.
COVID aside, what's your guest capacity when there is no weird governmental restrictions?
She said weird. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's 420 in this location, 240 in my second location.
420.
Yeah, I have 9,000 square feet on my first location here, and it's crazy because having 9,000 square feet, you think you have to cover a little bit. No, everything, because it feels so. It's a unique experience. It feels your own. You don't need to be catered to, so I don't need to cover all 9,000 square feet. You train the guests as well. You train the guests to bring their beer glasses back, and you train them to pick up their own napkins and pick up after themselves, and you're killing the game.
Wow.
Have you ever been at full occupancy?
Oh yes, yes.
Nice.
Before COVID, we were killing it. I mean, it was nuts. We had lines outside. January was an extraordinary month. February was going to be gangbusters. The first 2 weeks of February, we were jam packed. We were, people were talking about us on news, on the local news here. And then, COVID happened and messed everything up.
Things are a little different now, yeah. But it seems like you are opening a second location. You just opened the second location despite all of this, and from what I hear, you guys have been still really busy for what you can be busy. So I think that just indicates you are doing something right there. There are some
Well,
secrets that we still need to deep dive into.
well, our ownership group, Doug, we mentioned Doug and Melissa. We sit down and we talk about these things, and we opened our other location 8 days ago. Okay, and we were reaching capacity for for most of the days of the opening week, and that's the honeymoon phase, and we get that. We're still doing well now, which is a blessing. It's raining and dreary outside, and people are still coming in. But the biggest thing is having the conscious mindset that we're still living in a weird time, and so we have garage doors. We built that building to solve for people's sensitivities.
From the rest of your team, when I was chatting on the press release end of things, they said that you are trying to position yourself so far successfully as more like a outside open air venue, right? Is that what you're trying to do with the
Yes,
garage door?
so there's one considered open air concept in Massachusetts. It's called Lawn on D. They are legitimately open air because they're really under the sky. They have swing sets as tables and things like that. And so we are considered the second because of how many garage doors we have. They're 12-foot garage doors, and like I said, there are more of those than there are walls in the space. And so we can open up all of the doors, and then it's maximum airflow. You feel like you're outside. You feel like you're on the patio the entire time. And then that was important for us to position that and communicate that, because the moment that everyone found out that COVID is airborne and then not on surfaces, everybody needed to understand how much airflow is in a space to make them feel safe.
That makes sense. So all the garage doors were essentially added once when the COVID hit. You didn't really have them there before, correct?
We had a couple, and then it became a lot.
Okay, that makes sense. Hey, that sounds to be like one of your main COVID strategy. Are you using anything else like plastic cups? Were you using plastic cups before, or are you just using them now for COVID?
So we started using them, when people were nervous. But no, you don't need plastic cups or anything like that. Our model is a to-go model, and so all the cutlery is plastic, and we're using to-go ware. But no, we didn't. On the operational sense, no, it's just been normal for us. We could still technically do plates and everything like that, but doing that, then you need a dishwasher. Then you're increasing your labor model if you want to do that.
Yeah, definitely. What are some other strategies and tips that you could share with the Permavir family regarding COVID adjustment? COVID site adjustment.
Just being highly communicative to your population. Your guests want to know what you're doing. They understand that you are in this industry, but they also, they're human. They have sensitivities and fears and things like that. And so reminding them constantly, whether it's on social media or when they come in, broach the subject. We teach our management and our team members to broach the subject respectfully and responsibly. How are they interacting with you, and how are you communicating to them? Everything's cool. Everything's fine. These are the things that we're doing. You want to enter the beer wall on this side. You want to make sure that you see all of the hand sanitizer dispensers everywhere. It's just being highly communicative about the things that you're doing.
I think that having the communication in person with staff, it's awesome, but obviously not everybody will even come in. So how are you making sure that you're spreading that word out there? Are you running any social media ads? Did you run any specific press release on this topic, or sending out a newsletter?
Yeah, so we stay away from the COVID talk as much as possible. We prefer to be an oasis. So when people ask, we communicate what we do. So we don't run ads. No, until people ask, we don't run ads. We don't do any of that. If they feel really uncomfortable about coming in, then they won't come in. That's what it is. You
No,
know,
at this point,
they're
I
not
guess
going to
that some
believe you
people,
because you said something.
yeah, I guess that at this point, some people are really so tired of the COVID topic anyway that it's just better to pretend like it's not there, right? And just talk some fun stuff. That makes sense. Okay,
So,
Gardy.
real quick, just to piggyback off that conversation, Tanya. So the other statistic that they always say is that 5% of your revenue goes towards marketing spend. Is it safe to say that you guys that's not the case with you guys?
No, not even a little bit. No, we're at about 1.5% right now.
Can I transfer a little bit more to your operations? I think that Josh mentioned in our Pour My Beer family what a POS you are using. I think that I can reveal the secret that it's a toast. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Is that a POS that you've been using since the beginning for your first location with the beer wall?
Yeah, so we're using Toast, and it was just the best model for us because it allowed it allowed for the metrics that we want to follow. We needed to see they allowed for that. The communication between the guest and what we're doing. So we do news through Toast as well, for example. They allowed for that. You know, they captured all of our information and the guest information that we needed. And so they've been a good partner. The fact that they integrated with Pour My Beer that was sold, and so they're the best fit for us.
Are you using them in the new location then as well? Both of the locations are now Toast integrated.
That is correct.
Regarding Toast, I just wanted to get some clarity because we have about 40 customers now that use the Toast integration, and I was just curious, two things. One, do most people check out like physically before they leave, or do they just drop the card in a bucket and leave?
That's a great question. So in this location, it was 100% checking out. People came back, they handed their card to a manager. Manager would go ahead and check them out. And I would say about 50% of the time they were asking for an itemized receipt. Here, and with our new location, it's 100% thrown in the box, and we've had zero issues with that as well. So we are transitioning this location to do the same.
Nice. And do you have like a checklist that you give your employees to follow to make sure that they never have an issue with that?
No, we don't have a checklist. We haven't, like I said, we haven't really run into any issues. We haven't lost any sales or dollars.
Nice.
Very
So no
seamless.
chargebacks or nothing from Toast or anything.
Zero chargebacks. A single chargeback.
That's awesome.
So good to hear. That makes us
I want
happy.
to send every new customer of ours to spend a week with you
I
guys.
have more. We've had a lot of complaints on the food, more complaints on the food than ever getting chargeback. It's been a blessing. Since opening, we've been open in this location since October 14th, 2019, and not a single chargeback.
That's awesome.
That's really good to hear. Yeah. Okay, so that's on the POS end of things. Are you using any third-party integrations? You mentioned something for the delivery at the beginning, right? I think, was it Grubhub or something like that? Can you tell us about any other integration
Yeah, so
processes that you're using?
yeah, we tried, to have integrations between our POS and delivery partners. What didn't work? They didn't work at all. Use only partners that connect directly with Toast. If they don't have integration with Toast, then we don't want it.
Makes sense. Make things easier. Are you using Untapped?
We are using Untapped. It's huge for us. People communicate a lot. They check in here, and we don't have it displayed anywhere in our hall. but it is a very strong partner of ours.
Okay, makes sense. Why don't you want to have a display? You just don't want to have another TV? Because I know I've seen it in many pour my beer locations when people are like, oh, that's the beer. I gotta try this. I'm going to tap 22. I'm going to tap 30.
Yes. No, it's also a strategy. We didn't need. We people won. I love the fact that the logo is displayed on the Pour My Beer screen and that on it. To experience here, and this is the main difference between another restaurant company and ours is we're very experiential. We want you to come in and experience here. Whatever you see online is one thing, but once you're here, you feel differently, and you engage a lot differently.
I wanted to learn more about your, branding efforts. How did you build the brand that you did? What are you specifically doing in communicating that to your community? If you can advise anything to Pour My Beer family on the branding end, that would be great.
He went into a marketplace and came, and this was birthed. The way that we communicated it to people, like a food court should, right? We have essentially two or three different restaurants within our food hall. We own all of them, we operate all of them, but there are three different experiences. And so people have to, if they want pizza, they're going to order from my Project X brand. If they want, some kind of entree, burger, fish, whatever it is, order from my Sous Videry brand. So that they all get their own QR code, and they can enjoy their experience that way. The beer hall has also its own QR code, so they don't have to come up to the wall to find out what's on the wall. They scan the QR code, and they're able to see what's on the wall as well. And that's cool because that's provided by Untapped. And so we have the entire thing sectioned off as its own. Again, I mentioned the word lever. Pull as many levers as you want.
Just quickly share with us some last tips for the winter preparation. I know you mentioned a few things for COVID specifically, but how did you prep both of these locations for winter, whether that's COVID tips or non-COVID tips? What were some of the main things that you covered?
There's discussions about where we consider extracurricular activities. How do we get the community to engage with us even when it's below zero? And so we have a calendar of events. We have a programming schedule. So we're coming up with things like, if you're in an area with snow, what kind of snow competitions could be done? What can we incorporate these types of things to help people out and want to do stuff? So, we're bringing back snow cones. We're doing a boozy snow cone, for example. Any little thing that helps the community come out and feel a part, feel concerned about your well-being as well. Because they need to know that when winter's coming, we struggle as well. So it's constant communication means that they start understanding and knowing you, and then they feel bad if they don't come. They feel bad if they don't support. So we're throwing so many things out there. We're working with our landscaper who does snow removal to make sure that they put all the clean snow in one particular area and let kids, sled down it. If you have the space, and again, it depends on where you're located, and this is why we don't do, inner stations like that. We want enough parking space. We want to have a space to do what we want to do.
Awesome. That's a great tip.
We're trying to figure out how to build on our property. We will do as much as possible to get people to be like, what is this? What are they? And it could flop as well. We will do a snowman competition, but if we don't get enough snow, then what are you going to do?
Yes. Yeah, I see that. Well, I'm sure that at your part of the country you get plenty of snow, and probably that's not an issue there.
Can we get Tom Brady to come by there sometime?
So funny thing is, we just keep on throwing things out there through social media, see who respond. A couple of profile people, they responded. Members of the Celtics responded to us, and they're coming down and they're donating their time and these things because they want to help the restaurant industry. And it's also
Yeah.
be afraid to throw yourself out there. People down the street, we have neighbors that didn't know who we are. So you just throw it out there and have them engage with you.
Are there tools that you would feel comfortable sharing with our just our family, not like just all the whole world, but things that you've taken from the Cheesecake Factory, whether it's spreadsheets or daily temperature checks or whatever? Because we love that. We love how you guys have obviously been able to execute the concept, and without taking any of your secret sauce out. If there's anything not on the call, but after the fact, we'd love to, or if you're comfortable sharing like one thing that you feel is really a big part of your programs, happy to hear that as well.
No, and I appreciate it, but I think the biggest things that we have an issue with in our industry is just the lack of communication with each other. We act like there is a secret sauce. We act like that there's old age secrets. Man, we do the same thing. We serve food and serve people. So it's just, again, the character and the habit. If you are able to come in every single day and check your numbers and understand what your numbers are, then communicate your numbers to your team, then you should be highly successful. And again, highly successful is really dependent on what your definition is. But you should be able to be content with the business that you're running every day. And you should be able to be flexible and tweak certain things when you find out it doesn't work, man. Don't be emotionally tied to it. You should be able to be flexible. Now, the one thing that for my team blows their mind of times that we communicate, you have to have an alignment. And I say that because it depends on the business model you're running, because if you have staggered in times consistently, then you're not going to be able to do a big hoorah kind of meeting in the beginning of the day. So you'd have to do then the one-on-ones. You have to let them know how you're doing, how the business, and then ask them how they're doing. And then you're able to talk about what you need from them on each particular day. So that's the biggest thing for me is making sure that everybody is always in the know, and that because our industry is known for backstabbing, for talking behind people's backs, but we take the mediator role very, very seriously. If something is wrong, talk about it. If you're feeling some kind of way about a decision that was made, talk about it. Because why should you, as either an owner or a manager, feel emotional about communication? If you made a decision and it happens a decision for your team, they should be able to let you know. And so that's the biggest, if we're talking about secret, that's the biggest thing for me. But what I personally do and the way that we run our operations is, getting part of the day, we look at all of our numbers and we understand what our quick ratio is. We understand what each sales labor model is. We understand our food costs right in the beginning of the day, so that we have that information readily available when we're talking to anybody throughout the day. We want to be the most knowledgeable and then disseminate the information accordingly to be able to be credible. We can't talk about why you're not bottom of the pen if we don't know how much pizza sauce that we're losing, for example. And so that takes up a good portion of the beginning of your day, and then we end the operational day as needed. There's always fires to put out and stuff like that, but the character is making sure it's up in the beginning of the day.
Gardy, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. It was awesome to learn from you and to visit the Craft Food Hall, at least this way, at least virtually, and hopefully we will soon all be there in person. Thank you so much.
Absolute blessing. You guys are extraordinary. Again, I'll say all these things, and everybody still needs to understand we're all suffering. Like I said, we are nowhere near the sales we were before COVID. We're trying to be consistent approach and allow people to come to their senses. But just keep pushing through and pour my beer, man. You guys have been an extraordinary partner. And even with all the issues, and I'm sure staffing wise has been difficult and getting out to where you need to be, still being available to us, man. You're a family member in that sense, and we appreciate both of you, and obviously your entire team as well.